How's it going, fellow traders? It's Matter Trader here. This is the Forex market outlook for June 6, 2018. So the markets have been extremely stale these last few days, and every time the market falls into a situation like this, I know we all get the same emotions. We just get itchy trigger fingers, and we're looking to just place a trade because we feel like we're not making money, and so we got to get involved in some way, shape, or form. And we have to resist that urge to do that because we're just going to end up losing money. So it's about remaining patient and only waiting for the appropriate setups, because you know, we can look at the markets today and they look like total garbage, but in a week's time there could be really nice setups. I mean, it doesn't take much time to pass for the charts to look different and for setups to present themselves. Alright, so with that being said, let's take a look at the markets and see what is available for us. So we're looking at gold here. Gold hasn't been doing much. I mean, we got an uptrend on the weekly. Excuse me. So we got an uptrend on the weekly, but if you take a look at the euro, we're expecting a push up, and so far we've been getting that, right? So that would lead us to believe that most likely we're going to get a move like this on gold. But is there any trade setups here? I mean, we can't go long here because, you know, what zone would we be going long off of? Okay, let's take a look here. This is not a zone, but it is some area of demand that price is reacting from. But it's nested in what? Nothing, right? Nothing really here. So, I mean, you know, to go long here would just be guessing. You know, going long lower would be the ideal scenario, but even here is not a good area of demand, so we'd need momentum to shift off of this area down here like this before we took a long. So that's what I'm waiting for, daily demand zones off of the weekly demand down here. Unless that happens, I'm not interested in taking anything else because it just doesn't suit my purposes. Alright, so let's take a look at oil. So, oil. We are reacting from a weekly supply imbalance, so the force of price is downwards to at least this area. Alright, so we had a daily momentum shift taking place here, and this was an institutional trade signal to go short, and I posted it for the members, for all members, and I said that the likelihood of this trade playing out and working out is about 78%. Target is about down here. So right now we're seeing that we're stalling at this trend line. Okay, we got that trend line and price is just holding that trend line. Okay, on the 4 hour, I took a trade off of a 4 hour zone and it did not work, and the reason for it not working is a couple things actually. So the first thing is that if you take a look at this area here, so yes, we had a supply zone here like this. Okay, and technically this next candle did not touch this area, so technically we had consolidation away. And the thing is, I was way too technical on this trade. I was looking at it and I'm like, well, technically it hasn't touched the zone, so I can take the trade. So I did take the trade, and what ended up happening was price broke right through it. So when it comes very close to the zone like this, sometimes the zones work, sometimes they don't. It all depends on the context. In this specific context, it did not work. And why is that? So the force of price is up right now, right? Because there's an upward trend on the weekly, okay? And there's an upward trend on the monthly. So the force of price is up. Yes, we hit a weekly supply imbalance, but take a look at the daily, right? Remember, I had two trend lines, one here like this. That wasn't the ideal one. I said this was the ideal one. And the trend is still holding. Technically, that trend is still holding. So I was attempting a 4-hour momentum shift trade to the downside with a zone that didn't have proper consolidation. And I was expecting this trade to work under these conditions, with the force of price being to the upside on the monthly and the weekly, and even on the daily. Which, in hindsight, I look back and I'm thinking to myself, not a good idea. This was not a good idea. But I took the trade, and it forced me to understand why, in some scenarios, a little bit of consolidation like that would work, and why it didn't work in this situation. So obviously I learned from it, and I've journaled about it, and I will apply this lesson for future scenarios. So it was a good learning lesson for me, an important one, a really important one. So going back to the daily chart, we still have this trend line holding. Okay, this was a good trade here, this short here. Okay, and taking some off before the final target here would have been a really good idea. Okay, because we're still not sure that we're going to get this drop all the way down here. For this to happen, we'd need a weak CAD, and for a weak CAD to happen, we would need for price to break through here up, which means we would need a strong US dollar. Does this look like a strong US dollar? Not really, right? So, you know, those things would have to be in place for this trade to work. So that was part of the initial reason why I placed this trade, this one here, at 78%, was because those other factors would have to be taken into consideration. And then looking at the likelihood of those other pairs in the US dollar making the moves that they would need to make to help oil drop, I figured, yeah, about 78%. Very high probability of the drop from up here, but to get it to come all the way down here is another situation. So I was a little bit too quick to jump on this trade, and was asked by a few members whether or not I would just get in now after seeing the reaction here. My answer was no, because it had dawned on me why this was happening like this. Okay, even though this, we could invalidate this because we hardly had any consolidation. We'd have to look at the next zone to validate it, which was this one here. So yes, we got that drop from there. So this validates to me that this was the zone responsible for removing this here by just looking at this reaction. But we can easily get this to happen very easily. Okay, daily trend line still holding. We could get a move higher like this. So right now, that's why I'm just sitting on the sidelines, and I'm not going to be taking any trades on oil right now because I just don't see any good setups for now. Okay, so let's take a look at the US dollar. So what's the US dollar doing? So it looks like it's starting its pullback. Okay, and right now we're testing a tested daily area of demand. The upward momentum has been broken on the daily chart, and it created a daily area of supply. Price came up, tested that area of supply, and now we're getting that push to the downside. So this has had a test here already, so taking out this zone shouldn't be much of a problem, but it is still an obstacle. Once this zone gets through, we'll get a reaction here and here This one will have more of an impact on price, pushing it to the upside. But then when this does get taken out, if it does get taken out, expecting a drop like this won't be very far-fetched. So do I want to take any short trades on the Dixie right now? Not really, because there's no force in play pushing price to the downside. It's just retracing. And when price is going up and then retraces, it's just because of exhaustion. So exhaustion is really not a force I want to trade with. I want to trade with the institutions pushing price. Okay, let's go to the Aussie. So that brings us to the Aussie. This one's an interesting one because price is coming up to a weekly area of supply. And I've mentioned in my journals, and I believe in the webinar as well, that this is an interesting one to watch because, yeah, we're expecting a move to the upside on the euro, right? And then we have weekly area of supply right above price. And then I said that if you take a look at the other pairs, most of them have big moves to be made. And the euro had a short move until weekly supply, and the Aussie had a short move until weekly supply. But here's the deal. We're already hitting that weekly area of supply on the Aussie. And on the euro, we still have a ways to go until we get up there. Right? In fact, let's just take a look here at the bottom of the wick. Yeah, a little bit of a ways to go. So it's not much, but still got to move to go up on that euro. So what does that lead us to think right now? So weekly area of supply is being hit. The trend on the weekly is broken. It's in consolidation, and also on the monthly. Okay, there has been one candle that closed below that trend line. Monthly area of imbalance, demand imbalance, is in control, deeper test. So we could see a move to the upside like this. It is possible, okay? Taking into consideration bigger picture scenario, right? But we have to respect the fact that weekly supply is in control. And then you look at this trend line here, it's being tested right now. We got an upward trend on the daily. This could just die off and we see a move to the downside, right? But let's take into consideration that if this area of weekly supply gets taken out right here, and what ends up happening is a big move to the upside like this, what does that mean for the Aussie? Does that mean the Aussie is going to just stay here and then stall out and drop? Or does that bring in the possibility of maybe this weekly area of supply being taken out, clearing the room for a move to the upside? That's what I don't know at this point. It's very difficult to tell that because I have to really question why price is at this weekly supply zone right now. Why didn't it take as much time as the other pairs to make their moves? Yes, I understand that we had a rate release earlier this week, and let's take a look. I think there wasn't even a shift in the interest rate, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they kept it at 1.5, and the move was actually happening to the upside even before the rate release. And what I mentioned in my journal was that we're most likely going to get a move to the downside because the move to the upside is capped by this weekly area. So we got that, right? We got that move to the downside, and then immediately price stopped and started moving back up. So let's take a look here on the 4-hour chart, and we can see that we got a drop from this area, a 4-hour area of supply. We got that drop and then straight back up. and now penetrating deeper, which leads me to believe very good chance we get a push to the upside. Okay, so if the US dollar drops hard and the pound rallies up hard and the euro breaks through supply, we could definitely see this move up here to get to this area here on the daily, right? Here's that daily area of supply, nested within that weekly area of supply. We could definitely get that. But are we going to get the break of the weekly supply is the question here. So it's difficult to take any trade here, okay? I'd hold off on taking shorts on the Aussie simply because of this drop that I'm expecting to see on the US dollar, okay? This drop that I'm expecting here. Because technically there's nothing to stop price from doing that. So since I'm expecting such great weakness on the US dollar, that leads me to believe that there's going to be a lot of pressure to the upside here on the Aussie. So I'm going to hesitate on taking shorts or longs at this point because the two charts are not jiving with each other. Okay, so Aussie CAD, man, I wanted to take this long so badly, and I'd like this area here, this daily area of demand, but the thing was that we were reacting from an area that was highly tested. It wasn't very clear. I had my suspicions it was going to move up simply because I was expecting a strong Aussie and a weak CAD, which is exactly what came into play. And it ended up working very nicely, this trade. It was just a little bit risky for my liking, so I passed on it. But I do learn from these scenarios by watching them and seeing why they worked. So now we have this weekly area of supply that's in control, just like on the Aussie US dollar. So what does that mean now? The trend on the monthly is down because we have that descending trend line here. We also had an area of demand removed, but we are inside a 3-month area of demand, which wants to push price up. So how would we get into a trade here? I don't think there'd be a decent long trade here until this area of supply gets taken out, and then even then we'll have another area of supply right above price, so it's difficult. We'd have to really time this well. I mean, price could even drop down here to this newly formed area of demand on the daily chart and then get a bit deeper penetration, just like it did here. It could very much do that, but I would like to see that weekly area of supply getting taken out on the Aussie US dollar first. Okay, if I saw that weekly area get taken out, then that would secure, in my mind, the idea that the Aussie is going to get stronger, and then I would be more inclined in taking a long trade here, even if it was an aggressive one like this, up against a weekly area of supply. Okay, but I have to wait to see if that does happen. Aussie yen, here's another good one. I think we are more likely than not going to see a retracement up here, simply because of market dynamics. But again, for this to be a really solid move to the upside, one of two things would have to happen: a strong Aussie or a very weak yen. And if we take a look at the yen chart, yeah, we definitely see that that is what is in the works for that. So that solidifies a move to the upside. And then do we have the Aussie strength that's going to facilitate a move like this? That's the question here. We have supply here that needs to be taken out, supply here. So, I mean, there's road bumps. You know, this can come up here, test this area here of demand, and then aggressively move to the upside. That's a very big possibility. But is that a high probability? Well, at this point, not really. Okay, so you know, monthly is in consolidation, weekly trend is down, and the daily trend, yeah, sure, it's up, but weekly trend is down, monthly consolidation. Taking this trade would be kind of going against the force of price, even though yen weakness is pretty strong here. Again, we'd need to see the Aussie really come through for us on the Aussie US dollar and see that weekly area of supply get taken out first. Aussie Kiwi, here's another one that I think is good for a long move. And the reason being is because if that Aussie does get strong, I am expecting the Kiwi to get weaker, therefore causing this pair to move higher. Another thing is we have a monthly demand imbalance in control, and price just wants to go up as indicated by my arrows here. So we were reacting to the weekly area of supply, so once that area gets taken out, it's clear sailing. So let's say Aussie US dollar weekly area of supply gets taken out. This would most likely get taken out. I would be all set to take longs after that happens. But until that happens, I have to wait to see what happens with that Aussie first. But I think this could be a potential good candidate for a long trade. CAD yen. Both CAD and yen expected to get weaker, so a lot of messiness on this chart. Therefore, no real trades for me. Euro US dollar. So this one's an interesting one. Expecting a push up. I think there's a good possibility of a push all the way up here. But like I've mentioned, we got that weekly area of supply. That would be a massive roadblock. But we can see prices just working its way up, slowly but surely. And here are the signs of that really coming through here. Okay, so on the 4-hour chart, price came up, created a 4-hour area of demand, came up into this area here, the daily bearish engulf, dropped down, tested, institutions filling demand on the 4-hour chart. Okay, they broke through this area of supply, creating demand. Not even a 2-to-1 move away, came down, institutions filling in demand. Moved higher, broke through this area of supply, can very much likely drop, institutions filling demand, and push price even higher. Okay, so if you take a look here, right now we're sitting within a daily area of supply, and we are forming here a daily area of demand. Only thing is that that daily area of demand only removed a trend line, but not the opposing zone. No 2-to-1 move away, so taking longs based off of this daily zone would be low odds. But this could be an aggressive trade right here, okay? Because price does want to push up right now, and institutions are buying this up on the 4-hour chart. Okay, institutions took out a trend line. So let's read the clues here, right? Institutions broke a daily trend line, descending trend line. They are buying on a 4-hour chart. We see signs of that. But are they just doing this to get price up to their area of weekly supply to fill in their shorts and then cause a drop? Or are they planning on pushing price up here? That's the big question. So what I am waiting for is when price gets up to this weekly area of supply, I want to see what the rest of the markets are doing. I want to read the clues on those charts to see what's the likelihood that they're just going to reverse price at this area of supply, and then boom. Because I think that there's a good chance that we're just going to see a move to the upside. I think there's a good chance. I just can't get that out of my mind. So watching for that. And I'm watching for the signs that the institutions are continuing to push price to the upside. Alright, so Euro Aussie, not much to see here. Euro becoming strong. Aussie hitting supply, causing it to be weak. A couple members, I believe, are in long off of this area down here. This daily area of demand. Don't know how long they want to hold on to it for, but it could potentially work. Not a trade for me though. So could we get a move to the upside? Sure, we got a move to the upside. This is demand, but this isn't demand here. what happened here is this tested some demand here. So, and you know, we got supply now. So if we do get a move up in the euro, you know, it could be short-lived, right? Because taking a look at the euro, right, weekly supply is right there. So we gotta respect this area here. So in our mind, we have to say, okay, we got a bullish move on the euro and then a potential big drop. So bullish move on the euro and then a potential big drop. So how high is it going to go? There's supply that pushed price down, so price came up, hit supply, dropped, and then we have that needs to be taken out. So a lot of question marks here. Is the euro gonna go all the way up? Is the Aussie going to drop from weekly supply? These are things that we don't know until they start to form, you know, the picture that is what is going to be taking place. So the Aussie, for instance, if that weekly area of supply gets taken out, then we know it's not going to be as weak as we thought. If the weekly area of supply gets taken out for the euro, then that means euro is going to be a lot stronger. But to go long on any euro pair is not for me right now. Short-term plays, boom, yeah, sure. Buy at the demand and then get out after you've taken some profits, right? But not for me. So Euro CAD, same thing. Sure, we're getting some strength. There was a test here. Now we are reacting to a weekly bullish engulf, getting a little bit of a push to the upside, hitting the underside of that trend line with an area of supply, so price can drop. So euro, a little bit of euro strength, and CAD weakness is causing this here. So if the euro does, if the euro goes higher past that weekly area of supply, and the US CAD drops and gets stronger, they both will get stronger, therefore not creating an ideal scenario to go long. So have to pass on that. And then this one's a mess, so we don't even look. Euro Kiwi. So the thing is, I'm expecting the euro to get a lot weaker. Okay, weaker than the other pairs. But we're eventually thinking that this one's going to get weaker too. So it comes down to which one is going to be weaker. I think the euro has a good chance of being weaker. But right now, you look at the chart, we're in between weekly areas of supply, weekly area of demand. You can't really take any trades here until one of those gets taken out. Okay? Euro, yen. So, expecting a stronger euro, possibly weaker yen. So, we're getting that push up. But we are soon going to be testing this descending trend line on the daily. And then we could see a drop. If euro hits that area of weekly supply, that could be up here, and then we can see a drop from this area here. So short-term shorts could possibly be taken up in these areas. You just have to be very careful. Pound, so pound, US dollar, I think is a very good candidate for a move to the upside. Just like the euro, we saw 4-hour demand zones being created by the institutions. Same thing here, 4-hour demand zone being created, tested, they fill in their orders. Another area of demand being created, tested, filling orders, and a push up. And then we got this really ugly area here, responsible for taking this daily area here. But we got supply right above. So we could see that, like that. That's possible. All I know is once this area gets taken out, it's clear sailing all the way up here. But that hasn't happened yet. We're just watching a slow grind. Slow grind. So very difficult to take any trades off of this one because we don't know how high it's going to go. And we don't know where it's going to come down, reverse down. It's very difficult. But waiting for that area of supply to get taken out, and then the odds will be in our favor of taking longs on any pound pair. But again, longs on pound pairs will only be limited, to getting up here, and then we'll have to cut them short. So pound Aussie, strong pound, weak Aussie. One of the members took a trade from down here, which was great. Again, it was a really nice area of 4-hour demand off of this daily bullish engulf, but this daily bullish engulf is just a test here, so this can definitely end up penetrating deeper like this. So if the Aussie continues to get stronger, breaking through that weekly area of supply, we're also going to get a strong pound. But it looks as if the upside potential on the Aussie is a lot stronger than the pound, which means we would have a weak pound and strong Aussie, meaning chances for a drop look to be larger than a chance for a move up. And we got this weekly area of supply being that has been created here. So I mean, move down is very likely. We got that push up here. I have some arrows here suggesting that the force was up. Yeah, it was up until it exhausted itself, and now we're getting that move to the downside. So would have to see these areas get taken out first before considering taking a short on this pair. Pound CAD. So strong pound, weak CAD. That's why we're getting the move to the upside. But again, limited. It could come up here to this weekly area of supply, and then we see a drop from that area. Very, very, very good chance of that happening. Yep, like that. Price gets up here, that could be a really nice short trade. A little bit congested here. So if it gets up here, momentum shift and then downwards. Let me just write that note. Okay, note taken. And yeah, so that could potentially play out. Okay. Pound yen. Weak pound, weak yen, causing this type of action. Nothing decent. We could see a move up to the daily area supply and then a drop. But there's no real hardcore trends to follow here. You know, monthly is in consolidation, weekly. Oh, I missed something here. A trend line down here like this. Let me fix that. Okay, weekly's got that trend line down. Is it in a downward trend? No, not to me. It's in consolidation. So monthly consolidation, weekly consolidation, daily downtrend. So tough to trade. Yeah, you could potentially get a nice move to the downside here. I'd like to see where the pound is when it gets up there. But like I said, I think there's a lot of room for a pound to move up. So this could eventually get taken out, especially the fact that weekly is in consolidation. Zones get taken out very easily, so not ideal for trading. Pound Kiwi. Both pound getting stronger. Kiwi, let's just flash over to the Kiwi again. So yeah, they're both getting strong. So both pound and Kiwi getting strong, then eventually believe that we could get very big weakness coming in here. So pound getting stronger, so can the Kiwi, so it's staying in a range. Not ideal to trade this one. We got this area here holding price and this area here holding price. I think it's very similar to the Euro Kiwi. Yeah, weekly supply, between weekly supply and weekly demand. So really cannot be taking any trades until one of those areas get taken out. Then we know where the momentum has shifted towards. So we go on to the US CAD, and we still got that wedge formation, right? The higher time frame trend line there. Here we're hitting the top of that, which suggests a move downwards. We are also being held up by that daily area, that daily trend line. So with the US dollar weakness about to come into play, which is what I believe is going to happen, we could definitely see a move to the downside, but how far is the question. So it's not very clear. We have to break out of this wedge formation before we see what direction the force is. Then we can take trades, but right now it's not clear. So I mean, you could attempt to trade, but you're getting very in murky waters. Okay, so US dollar, Japanese yen, I said we have to get some type of a drop from the US dollar weakness, wait for a foundation to be created, and then take trades. So we got a drop, and then we get some bullishness here. Bullishness while the US dollar is showing weakness. Very interesting. It looks like it wants to blow up to the upside, right? So yes, we created a little bit of a foundation here. We got a daily area of demand, which removed this area of supply. But we're in consolidation. Now price is in between a daily area of supply and a daily area of demand, held down by a descending trend line. Do I want to go long at this descending trend line? Not a good idea, especially with the weakness that I'm expecting with the US dollar. So I'm waiting for a clear picture. I want to see what the US dollar is going to do. I want to see how this pair is going to react to what the US dollar does, and then I'll get a better idea of what to do. If the US dollar starts to drop a little bit, and this just inches its way here, and then the US dollar finds footing and then builds strength to the upside, and this gets taken out, then I'd be interested in getting in on the zone that takes out that area to ride this to the upside. Okay, but I need to see that play out and give me the hints and the clues first to see what the scenario is more likely going to be. Again, Kiwi most likely move to the upside. Nothing I can potentially trade. Let's look at the 4-hour chart. Creating areas of demand, and just need to adjust that trend line, but nothing pretty. US Swiss franc, still waiting for that move down here, kind of stalling, but I believe if the US dollar starts to make its drop, this shouldn't give us much of a hassle to drop down here. This area taken out, and a further drop. Trend line pretty much just about to be broken. So once it's broken completely, the momentum to the downside should come into play. But still watching this one. You know, we got that monthly trend line here. Price broke above it and now just sitting at it. When price hangs around trend lines, you know, it can play very funny. So it's difficult to tell. That's why I needed to break through here, cause the drop. Once it gets down here, I'll be very interested to go long. So that's the scenario. So there's some potential trades that could play out, but mostly this is about waiting for things to waiting for price to play out. I mean, too many question marks. When there's too many question marks, it leads to bad trades. So yes, do I want to get into oil again? Yes, I do. But you know, after reviewing the trade, I realized, whoa, you gotta wait patiently for the right scenario. Otherwise, you're just going to open up another trade and take a loss, and I don't want that right now. I just want to play this one right, and I want to make good returns in my account. I don't want to give money back to the markets. So this one didn't work, but life lesson here. Add it to my journal. Why this scenario wasn't good to trade. And next time a situation arises like this, without the proper consolidation, I'm going to say, oh, the force of price is not with me. I'm not taking the trade. So this was the big lesson that I learned this week, and wanted to be a lesson for you guys to learn as well. You may not be at the capacity right now to fully grasp this concept and what it means for your trading, but it's recorded, right? And it's part of the library now. So eventually one day, when you do get to the point where you can understand why this is so key and how it could play into your own trading, then you can appreciate this more. But this is a very, very big lesson for me, and hopefully it is for you as well. Okay guys, this was a long video, but I really wanted to explain a lot of things in depth on this video, and I really wanted to take my time going through all the pairs so that you were fully informed of what is high odds, what is not, and what we should really be waiting for. Alright, so enjoy the rest of your evening, and we will talk to you later. Bye guys and gals.